Hey guys, May Flom here, and mixing and matching your color mediums is really easy. And today I want to play a little bit of a funky, freaky Friday here, some mixed media fun. And I'm going to be working with a number of color mediums. These are all Prima mediums. Just to show you, even within the same company, you can find a lot of different things. So these ones are metallic watercolor. These are beautiful watercolors that are a lot of fun. These are water-soluble oil pastels. All of these you can mix and match together in a number of ways. I'm going to show you how, because they all react with water. Now, what I've got here, I've got a Prima stamp. This is one of the princesses. This one's called Stella. Isn't she pretty? And I've just stamped it onto a manila tag. I am going to work on top of a piece of clear, well, next to, I should say, a piece of clear plastic. What I'm doing that for is the oil pastels, you can apply them directly. However, if you apply them to something nonstick, guess what? If we do that, we get a better range. And what I mean by a better range is that we can go through, and I've got a couple different water brushes here. Water brush being just a brush that's already got water in it, so you just give it a squeeze and go. If I blend color here, I've got a couple more options. One of them being I've got a smooth creamy color so that when I go to apply it, say, to her dress here, I don't have to worry about there being any streaky marks from oil pastel. Okay, because these, when you put them on, they do blend, but especially if you're not working on, say, a surface coated in gesso. Surface coated in gesso is going to treat things differently versus one that's not. Now, I wanted to just, I'm doing a play here, okay? We're having some fun playing with some color mediums, mixing and matching. So I did not want to deal with, and I've got to prep my surface and this and that. And I also thought, you know what? It's a manila tag. So, if I don't even want to color her skin, I don't even have to color her skin. I could just let her be manila tag colored if I want. So many options. So I know I get a lot of questions, why tags? Why do you ever make tags? For me, the tag is a great medium for a couple reasons. Number one, manila cardstock is a great all-around paper for experimenting with, and I'm just going to keep using that one color till I use it all up. It's a great medium, a great surface, I should say, for experimenting with various color options. And the reason for that is it's just a nice, slick, sturdy cardstock. So to work on it, it takes a lot of abuse. It works really well. It's nice and smooth. And you can buy a package of tags pretty inexpensive. So all of those things combined mean that I've got a surface that I can work on, experiment with, play with, and not stress over. I definitely like that. So now I've got just a different color there. And I do want to make sure I run enough water through my brush so that it's no longer pink when I go to do this. Now, I will note you could put different colors. And these oil pastels are so creamy, so lovely. They blend. You can blend with each other. I could also, if this isn't quite the color I wanted, I could also very easily blend in other colors, and that's what I'm going to show you next. So I'm giving her a little bit of color so she's not so pale. I decided I wanted to not make her super pale, only because I want to show you more color mediums. So if I color her in, that gives me more options. And I'm going to give her face just a really light. You might notice I'm being really sloppy about this first layer. I'm just kind of going for it. That's because I know I'm going to keep coming in with more layers, and this is just a really quick base coat of color. So once I've got that down, I do still have a little color here. What I can do, if I ever don't have the perfect color, in this case, let's play with the color orange. The color orange seems like a good place to start. Again, just squeezing out some of the dirty water there. So here I have orange watercolor, and I could work on here too. So I can give it a little squeeze here, pull some orange. But let's say I feel like it's a little bright, or let's say I wanted a little more red. I could also, and yes, you can absolutely put oil pastel on those tins. I could add a little bit of red oil pastel to orange watercolor. Let's say I wanted a little sparkle. We could go in here and pull a little bit of color, a little bit of sparkle. We could add more water if we want it more fluid. don't, add more water. If you don't, if you want this to be opaque, we could add a little white paint. You have so many options when it comes to color mediums, and I think the really important thing to play with and to understand which ones you personally have that can mix and match. Just as a kind of getting started guide, if they are watercolor or water soluble, water reactive, odds are you can probably use them together. So that would be things like, there are some watercolor markers that work well together. Things like distress inks work well. A lot of the color mists, the spray colors will blend. Watercolor, oil pastels, lots and lots of things. Acrylic paint while wet. These are some new really beautiful color paint. We'll play with those in a minute. A lot of acrylic paints will work for this as well. You have a lot of options. The real thing to do is just to kind of, just relax into it. Just kind of play along and see what you get from things. So you can see this time my brush was really full of orange. So really have to let that go out, and I should actually, what I ought to do is get out my paper towels and really clean this off, but I don't feel like doing that. I'm having too much fun and I want to keep moving forward. So if I have a small area where I know that the coloring would be okay, or that any scratchiness wouldn't be a problem, I can apply the oil pastels directly, as I just showed you. I just kind of try to make sure if I do that, it's an area like this little birdie, where you notice I applied it where there were a lot of black lines, so that didn't really like show up or change anything. You know, there wouldn't be any scratch marks from any time that I colored a little too hard. And if I want to add more color, let's say I want to add a little more darkness, I can come in here. They don't always have to be blended off the project, or excuse me, yes, off the project. We can blend or add more color over the top, like so. Lots of options. I just love it. I tell you, coloring, and I'll tell you why this is my favorite. This is my favorite to do, blending and changing these things, because it means that I don't ever have to have a full set of anything, because by having this palette and these colors, by having a few different colors and things, I can mix and match. I can make my own colors. I don't have to worry about having all, and I can feel like I have a really good assortment. I can feel like I've got a lot of different colors because I've got a lot of different, well, I have a lot of different colors. They're just in a lot of different forms. So giving this another squeeze, there we go. Remember, we just want to make sure that's clear, just so that we don't get a muddy color. And I'm going to pick up a little pink here. So I've got a little bit of acrylic paint, a little bit of oil pastel, a little bit of water, and my water brush. Now, normally, to be honest, I don't usually use acrylic paint and water brush. If I do, I make sure to really wash it out well right away. And I'm just going to come in here and add a little bit to her dress. Okay, and then there we go. Just run that in. These new paints here, they're really beautiful, heavy acrylic paints, and I really like the colors. A lot of times the colors are kind of boring, or oh geez, I've seen that a million times kind of thing. These are really interesting colors, so I'm really liking that. Now I will, again, I'll squeeze this out, and I do need to stop and clear this. And actually now I've got it clear, but now I'm empty, so I got to refill that. And a real key reason why normally you don't see me use acrylic paint with my water brush is because if I forget this, and I am forgetful in here, but let's say, you know, I load up some nice hot pink here and I color my flower like so, and I wander off and forget it. Okay, and there it is, and I wander off, forget it. As soon as this becomes wet again, the pink color, the watercolor is always reactivated by water. So it'll come clean. If I leave acrylic paint on it, I could really get myself in quite a mess. And I don't want to do that. So I'm coming in now with some straight acrylic paint, just to kind of add a few little accent lines. And it's just important to remember, you know, that acrylic paint is opaque. So you can water it down to make it semi-opaque, or you can do something like what I'm doing here, which is I'm just kind of bringing it around here and there. If I need some water, I can pick some water up, or I can squeeze some water on there. While it's still damp, it will blend, okay? Just once it's dry, it's done. You know, it's the acrylic paints. Once they're dry, they're done. And because they are opaque or semi-opaque, for the most part, you're going to find that, you know, they're not as forgiving. They're going to cover stuff up. And if you don't want stuff covered up, then, well, these aren't the mediums to be using. I just wanted to add a little bit of detailing there with a regular paintbrush. So I'm loving that. Now what? Well, now we just carry on. I am going to give her, and look how the color faded on her. So I thought I had made her pretty dark. And then as she dried, it faded out. So if you want to make more of a darker skin tone, then just repeat that process. You're just going to keep going for it. You're going to keep adding color. I'm going to go in here with some of the metallics now. And the only thing I would say, as far as rules here, would be that I don't mix in the color pans themselves. So if I have a product like this, well, any product, you know, I don't mix on an ink pad. I don't mix inside a bottle. I don't mix in the pan. So whatever color I'm wanting to mix, I will grab some of it and take it to a third surface, a neutral surface, if you will, so that I know, you know, whatever I'm doing, whatever I have going on, I'm not ruining a product. And that way too, I have no risk. So if you're not sure what you have that works well together, if you do that, if you give it a try, there's no risk to you, okay? So if you, for example, mix two colors and it turns out to be horrendously ugly, or they don't mix for some reason, or whatever the problem is, you don't have to worry if what you've done is to mix them on a surface, not in the pan or in the bottle or whatever it may be that you're working with. And we can continue to mix in here if we want to mix in pencils, if I want to, like here's some of the Prima watercolor pencils. So these go on like pencil, but when they dry, not when they dry, when you add water to them, they do activate and blend like watercolors. So that's kind of fun. So I can add a little color to her if I like. We can use as many mediums as we want. Why? Use what you've got. And if what I've got is a little bit of everything, then by golly, for a project like this, we can just use a little bit of everything. And, you know, back to the tag. Why a tag? Well, not just because of the manila surface. And again, you'll want to really clear it out. The metallic ones, they've got so much pigment. They're so beautiful. I love those. But what you're going to want to do is, see, I'm spraying this water brush because I'm getting that tip really nice and clean and making sure there's nothing in there. No residue. All right, back to these. I'm going to go into this beautiful, beautiful green, and again, woo, goodness, May, tipping things over. Go into this beautiful green, and I'm going to color a few leaves. And this is the other thing. You see how many times I just dip on there for whatever reason, because I need more water, because I need to take off some water, whatever the reason, you can always add, change, whatever you need. No pressure. And that's the big thing with tags and me. Tags are no pressure. What's the worst thing that happens right now, guys? If I completely destroy this tag somehow, I don't know, whatever happens. The dog eats it, I splatter on it, it becomes completely unusable. What's the worst thing? The worst thing that can happen is I've thrown a small piece of paper away. Okay, there's no danger. Now, if it turns out great, I have options. I can cut the whole part off or not and use it on a card. I can put a name on the back, turn it into a gift tag. I can incorporate it into a scrapbook layout. I can incorporate it into a shadow box or a mixed media piece. I could throw it into my planner as is, just one of the ring bound ones. There's a lot of things I can do with the tag, and it just makes for a really fun, especially if you're new to mixed media, it makes for a really fun way to, and I'm just, again, just clearing this out. You see how I can, paper towel is good because I can really see when it's all the way cleared out. But anyhow, the tag can be a really, really fun medium to work with because you can really get a lot of really interesting colors, a lot of really interesting looks with it, and maybe in a way you wouldn't have expected. And I just love that. Oh, I do. I love it. Love it. Okay, I'm going to put a little water on this hot pink one here. And you know what? I would love to hear from you. What color mediums do you mix and match? Me, you can see with me, whatever I've got, I'm going for. I love them all. But what ones do you find that mix and match really well? I find most of these water ones to work, and even the acrylics. I'm going to show you here real quick. I have cobalt, jade, and heather. Aren't those beautiful colors? I mean, they're just so pretty, and they're such rich, beautiful paints. I'm going to use a little bit of the jade because I want to put a little bit, not much at all. But look, if I add water to my acrylic paint, it becomes more of an acrylic paint wash. And if I want to flick some little bits up here so that it's not totally naked, and I probably should have covered my desk, but oh well, it's okay. Then I can do that like so. Or if I wanted to, I could wash on a bit of color. Whatever works, guys. We're no pressure over here. And that's why this first Friday, I'm doing this particular video and post if you're watching it. Be sure to check out the blog link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, because this is a part of my Camp Scrap series. And my idea for Friday is, you know, come on, let's just have some fun with mixed media. Let's take it easy and just enjoy. What are you afraid of? Let's enjoy some stuff, and let's step outside our comfort zone of what we have, what we know, and what we use. And I'll tell you right now, I'm loving this one. This one's fun. And I'm intentionally, by the way, I can sit here and do, you know, a really nice fine coloring. You know, I get a much finer brush and get a much finer color on this, but I don't really want to, because I want it. When I stamped this, there was a couple of icky spots, my fault, but not in my fault, but they were already on the tag. There were a couple of spots, and I thought, you know what, that's the tag I want to use because I think it would actually turn out really nice. And it's the tag I want to use because I think that I'm always a fan of using what I have, and since that's the first tag I happened to pull out and it happened to be imperfect, I thought, well, all right, let's use it. Okay, so with a base layer, you notice everything is covered. And by the way, notice how that acrylic paint, it really is a matte paint. It is not glossy at all. I love that because and look at the shine in her hair from that metallic. Ah, so much fun. Okay. If you're looking at this and you're going, okay, but I need more, I need this, I need that, you can always bring in like little dots of glitter glue. You could bring in more colors. If I'm looking at this and going, okay, well, now what I need, you know, I need a really strong hot pink, I need a really strong orange, whatever the color is, you can always come in with whichever color that happens to be, and you can accent either very specific little parts, or you could do a more general. Now, what I like to do, especially on these flowers, I like to do kind of a tapping because I personally like it to look just a little bit wild. I have so much fun. To me, it's more fun. Just play with it. And sometimes I really like to get really particular about my coloring and get things like just so. But a lot of times I just really have more fun. Let's just see, you know, let's just play with it and see, you know, what pops up. Let's play around with this and just enjoy the process. And sometimes I find that I'll discover a certain way or a certain look. And I also find, especially with watercolors, the harder I try to get it just so or to look like a certain something, the less likely it is to. The more likely it is to look like something I had never intended. So lots of fun, as you can see. You've got I love these Prima stamps too because they're so much fun to color. They're so much fun to play with. Now I just need to decide, what is the fate of this tag? Will it be a card? Will it be a gift? What shall it be? I'm thinking gift, but we'll see. I may add a little topper, and over on my blog, of course, explain a little more, give a little more thoughts, and link up to all these products and all of that good stuff. As always, as I always say, you're welcome to contact me if you have questions, comments, things you'd like to see on Mixed Media Fridays. Let me know. I'd love hearing from you. I wish you a very, very happy, crafty-filled kind of a day.